He was a Latin philosopher and theologian from the Africa province of the Roman Empire and is generally considered as one of the greatest Christian thinkers of all times. His writings were very influential in the development of Western Christianity, thanks to his importance in the philosophy of religion.
Augustine was born in 354 CE in Roman Africa, today's Annaba, Algeria. At his 17 years old, he went to Carthage to continue his education. There he left Christianity to become Manichaean. He thought that humans had to create a union with God to have a personal relationship with Him, and in order to communicate with Him, you did not need to use an intermediary.
Augustine had an affair with a young girl, who gave birth to his son. Years later he continued his studies of skepticism and Neoplatonism in Milan, where he started to left the Manichaeism. His mother and other Christians in Milan separated him from his lover some years later. This and his disappointment, the Manichaeans carried him into a personal crisis, leading to his conversion to Christianity.
Good morning. Today's program we have a special guest.
Good morning, Augustine. How are you?
How are you?
Fine, and you?
Fine, thank you.
It's an honor to have you today in our program.
We are glad you came.
It is an honor to be with you today, guys. Thanks for the invitation.
Thank you. Well, today's program it's going to be divided into sections. The first one will be an interview with St. Augustine, and the second will be a video of the Basilica of Our Lady of Shoshana. So let's start with the interview, and we are going to start with one of the most important questions, that is, first of all, how did you assimilate the Manichaeans, the Manichaeism with the Christianity in order to formulate the intellectual traditions of the Christian Church?
Well, looking back to my early life, when I was young, I moved to Carthage to study skepticism. And there I was living for a couple of years. When I finished my studies there, I became a Manichaean. And when I finished my studies, some Christians invited me to Milan to give some classes as a rhetoric teacher. So I moved there, and in Milan, I started approaching to Christianity again. I already had some backgrounds of Christianity because of my mother. She was also a Christian, and she taught me about that. So, in Milan, I never forgot. I never left behind my ideologies about Neoplatonism, Manichaeism, skepticism, and Christianism.
Wow, that's very interesting, and from that we can get that you brought a new structure and your writings about Christianity, and from that people could have a closer relationship with this religion, and I think that's pretty important in the actual religion.
Yes, I think everybody needs to have a closer relationship with God, and I think you get to hear by knowing more about the values of the church.
Okay. So now we have more questions for you. The first of all is, can you give us your opinion about the plenary indulgences?
Yes, of course. I think plenary indulgences are totally wrong, because I think everybody needs to have a connection with God, but I think it needs to be completely personal. So you don't need to, for example, pay anyone or travel too long to somewhere in order to get your sins forgiven. I think if you really want to get your sins forgiven, it needs to be by good actions and love.
Okay, that's interesting. So, we know that you have a relationship with a young girl that you never get married to when you were 17 years old, and that girl gave birth to your boy. Do you ever think about abortion?
Abortion never really crossed my mind, actually, because what I think is that abortion is one of the most serious crimes you can commit. But however, I'm a little bit flexible with it because I think if the woman, if the fetus is unformed, the woman can get rid of the baby because for me it doesn't have a soul yet. But if the fetus is already formed and the woman decides to get rid of the baby, I think that's, like I said before, one of the most serious crimes you can commit.
Wow. So if the fetus is unformed, abortion is not wrong.
Correct.
Okay.
If you think that an unformed fetus doesn't have a soul, can you give us your opinion about the soul?
Yes, I think that us, the humans, we are made of four dimensions, and I think the soul is the most important component of all because it is the purest and closest to God.
Okay. And do you think baptism is important, and does it change something about your soul?
Yes, I think it's very important because, for example, in my case, I was baptized when I was 32 years old. That was actually when I became a Christian. And yes, I think it changed your soul because it takes off the original sin from it.
Okay. And before going to a break, could you tell us how the structure of the church should be?
Yes, I think the structure of the church is divided into two realities, which are the visible and the invisible. In the visible reality, we can find the institutional hierarchy that goes from the Pope to the priest, and in the invisible reality, we can find all the souls of the saints, and also all the souls of the good and dead, good, dead, and living priests. In fact, all the souls of the people that have played a role or that is playing a real role in the church.
Wow. So it's very interesting what you're telling, but well, thank you very much. And we are going to a break. We are back in our program here with Augustine, and we are going to continue with the interview. So now we are going to into a more controversial topic. What do you think about the woman since she has been rejected by the eyes of the church?
Well, I definitely think women are morally and intellectually inferior to men. In fact, I think when Adam and Eve lived in the paradise, Eve was guilty from being expelled of it because she convinced Adam to eat from the tree of knowledge, and after she lied to God. So, like I say, I see the woman inferior to men in all the aspects, and I actually think the only function of women in this world is to conceive children. I really don't see any other function for them. I also have a religious representation where I see the man as the spirit and the woman as the flesh of the body. And of course, I also think women should not have any kind of authority or labor at the church.
Well, let's let behind this theme since it's very controversial. And in the other hand, I'm going to ask you about a very important concept that you gave, that it's the just war. So what is it about?
Well, of course, I've always agreed with peace and harmony in the world, and I think we should always live this way. But I also recognize there are some situations in which a man is forced to fight, to have some fights or even wars, in order to protect himself or his loved ones and to find peace and harmony again.
Perfect. So this was the last question, and we learned more about you. So we hope you having you in another program. And well, now you're going to see the video of Shoshan. So thank you, everybody. We hope you enjoy it. Thank you, San Agustin.
Thank you, Agustin.
Thank you.
Thank
you,
you.
everybody.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Shan Basilica, located in Shanghai, China, is the most important Catholic church of China and the largest Christian church building in East Asia. Before it was the destination of many pilgrims from Asia. The name Shishan actually comes from the hill in which this church was established, which is found at one of the edges of Shanghai city. This church was built from 1925-1935. In 1942, Pope Pius XII ordained the Shishan Cathedral a minor basilica. During the Cultural Revolution in 1949, Shishan Basilica was very damaged, as some parts of it. After the revolution ended, the church was repaired. Today it is a great symbol for Catholic people in Asia. One of the most interesting things about this church is the fact that indulgences are still being given to the people. The Shishan Basilica is a great example of the influence from St. Augustine and its fundamental basis of Christianity, reaching even Asian countries such as China. Shishan is the Virgin of China, or the Chinese Virgin. Her Asian traits and the little Chinese sun that carries on her arms makes the Chinese people feel identified with her, which supports St. Augustine's idea of having a close and personal relationship with God. The City of God is one of the most famous and important books from St. Augustine. Many of the traditional values from the Catholic Church come from this book. In the text, it is mentioned that to reach the City of God, you have to leave behind the earth's material objects and care for the spiritual and personal development and peace. It also says that God created all good things simultaneously, not in 7 days, and that things become evil when they are corrupted by humans. In the other hand, there is also the city of humans, that is where humans care for material things, and they prefer earth and pleasures. The main idea of the book is that everyone has a free will to choose being good or evil, and that only God is real.
Saint Augustine was crucial to Christianity, owing to the fact he formulated the intellectual traditions of the Catholic Church, making it easier for people to understand and adapt to the emerging religion of that time. Moreover, he helped the Christianity with its main goal, which is increasing the number of followers. Furthermore, his ideas and writings led him being one of the most influential theologians of the Middle Ages and an important philosopher in the philosophy of religion. Nevertheless, he influenced many other philosophers who, instead of helping the church as him, affected. Theologians such as Martin Luther and John Calvin, influenced by Augustine, did actions that led to the rupture of the Christian church, carrying it into a loss of followers and credibility.